So today I made a fort of sorts made out of wood. It's entirely made out of wood, and I want to show you my building process from when I did. So this is the very start. I was trying to make sure that the outside would look good per se. It very much didn't. And I wanted to use as little stone or anything like that in this build, because the challenge was just to use the main thing. So I was trying to figure out which one was the best one. I originally tried this Lumistone, and then I got to thinking about it and I was like, Lumistone might not make much sense. Then I decided to extend it, and this was still kind of the Lumistone area, but then I started to work on a terraforming project. So I logged in and terraformed for about 30 minutes of this huge, well, not huge, but it's a big hill that was kind of in the way of where I wanted to build. So I took it all down, got rid of it all, and that took longer than expected. I actually took a little shorter than expected, but it still took long enough to where it was more annoying. But it wasn't a bad thing at all. It just took a while, obviously. So that's why you see like stone around the edges, because there was originally a mountain there. That's why. And then I started trying out different light sources in the bottom of the what do you call it? In the bottom of the trenches, that's what it's called, so that it would have some light on it and it would, you know, make more sense per se. And eventually I found out that I was using the wrong plant. It's actually the jungle shroom. That's what it's called. It's the jungle shroom that gets off light. I think the ember leaf used to give off light, or currently only gives off a little bit of light. Did not know that. Did not know that. I thought it still gave off light. And I have an alarm going off. Can you not? Anyways, so I then extended this wall to all four sides, and it made it feel more like a wall, if that makes sense. Because before that, it was just like a plain area. Now it's starting to feel no more like a fort per se. So I made up this wall design myself. Like I think I spent like 15 minutes trying to come up with a good wall design. This is the best I got. I mean, it's all right. I think it works. And then I went inside and started getting rid of all the stone, all the dirt, all the limestone, and adding in just grass. I felt like it would make, I'm not gonna cut this out. I'm not gonna cut out the bloopers, but I felt like it was gonna make more sense in the moment. It definitely did. It definitely made it easier to make paths, which is something I'll expand on eventually. English is a hard language. Everyone knows that. So I started paving this all over with grass because it made more sense. And then I had to pave over one of the test chambers I originally did. I don't know if that made it into a short, but that was a big testing thing I did. For, I was about to say this video, but I have to call it by name. It was just a simple live stream. It was just a secret based live stream pretty much. Now I'm making the defense towers, or just towers, for the fortress. I'm only gonna make one at this moment, but I do eventually make all four sides and everything. This was a simple design. It didn't take much thought, but it worked. It worked. Now I'm gonna make a little bit of paths. Listen, you need paths. And I might have went a little overboard on the paths in the end. I feel like it just made it feel alive, if that makes sense. Okay, and then I want to highlight this. I was trying to do something, not just stir. I wanted to use wood as a highlight, but eventually I decided that didn't work. Makes no sense. Just use dirt, but I didn't change that until like the very end. And this is also the inside of the tower. It looks very good. Now it's time for day 2. I want to say each day came with a plan of its own. I decided this day I was going to make a couple houses, and so I was going to fix the center. That's what it was. Because I cut this out, but I made a hole in the center. It wasn't very accurate, and I was upset, and I was trying to think of a way to do it the next day. I did record like the first day late at night, and then the next day earlier in the day. Makes sense. So I started making a little bit of paths, make it make sense, of course. And then I wanted to make a fountain. I used resin as a base, and I didn't change it for a long time because I generally forgot I was doing the challenge. But I was using resin as a base, and I was trying to remember my original fountain build that I made 5 months ago and was on this channel. So I'll link it below, or it'll be in the end screen. But it's a simple fountain. Yeah, I found a glitch during it. So this was the final version-ish of it. I cut it out, but there are not storage containers, but campfires on each side, so that it makes sense why there's a fountain. The fountain's just there to make sure that everyone who lives there, this is all in my mind, but everyone who lives there, it would make sense that they would have the ability to sleep. Yeah, because in Reforj, beds don't work. There's no beds. You need to use campfires. Okay, next is this little house I made. This house didn't take long to make. It was more interesting than anything, I guess. It took a minute to think about. It took a minute how I wanted to structure it, but I knew I wanted to make it in the same vein as everything else, pretty much. So this roof design, I just did it based off of a Minecraft build I saw a long time ago. I use no references, by the way. I don't use references, but in my mind, this was just how it worked. I also based it off of the Tonray thing I edited, and it felt like it made sense. I also added the structure so that it didn't look like out of place. The interior didn't take much time. The bed was a little confusing. I knew I wanted to make a bed, but I didn't know how I wanted to make it. So then I eventually ended up on leaves. You can see me scrolling on glass and Lumistone. I was thinking of everything. But these are the leaves I chose for this house. Each house has a different bed way. Now I'm making the chief's house. My idea for this, it was going to be white and it was going to be big. So I decided to lock in, make it big, make it grand. And this is the roof. I decided to make this roof out of leaves. The last roof was made out of just moss. And I think like a nice cherry leaves work very, very well. They do. I eventually realized that the leaves are super transparent. So I needed to find a way to hide some, or at least make it less of an eyesore. So then I decided to add moss into it. So moss is all under it so that it doesn't look so crazy. I also added the structure like I did before on the roof, so it made sense. And then I made the bed. In the bed, I want to use moss because it's like a royal thing in the kingdom, I want to say. Not kingdom, but you know what I mean. The village. I think the chief gets a lot of good things because the chief does a lot of good things and it takes a long time. I also gave the chief its own, her own, or campfire, so it made more sense, of course. And I eventually went to the next build, which was on day 3, which is today, as of recording, the dawn of the final day. You can still see the resident outside is still there. I came here with a plan. I wanted to finish everything up, and I wanted to make more forts, not forts, but more towers, and make it better. By better, I meant like make more of them. Like I said, it makes sense to have more of this because there needs to be all 4 on 4 corners, you know, basic tower stuff. I originally thought of doing a diagonal version, but I decided not to. And now we're on the final house. So this house is my idea of how I'm gonna grow attachment to this build. Because I feel like you need to have a big attachment to builds when you're making them. So this house, my idea was it was for someone to pass. Not necessarily in my life, but it was just an idea of like a house rotting away when someone passed. That was my idea. And I feel like I did that well with like the clay flooring. It kind of shows that it's like an older house. It doesn't have the wood in it, or at least the wood the wood that was in the other houses. So I did a different style of roof, of course, and I actually did an oven for this one, maybe to show it was an older person. You never know. This house means a lot. Don't know why, it was just a silly idea, but it works. It definitely worked. Now I'm doing all the paths, which took a long time. It took like 30-40 minutes to path out everything and make it make sense. The paths were fun to do. Took a while, like I said, but I want to make it feel lived in. I think that was my biggest thing, making the area feel lived in. So I did spend a lot of time doing it. I also left the audio in because I think it's kind of satisfying. But yeah, that's what I was thinking of when I was doing the path. And then finally the plants. The plants took probably the longest out of everything because I wanted to make sure the plants placements were right. And fun fact, there was supposed to be more desert areas because maybe a more wizard way, but I decided against that and instead made more lively, more alive areas so it looks, you know, lived in, if that makes sense. And this was pretty much the end of it. This was the final build and I am so proud of it. It took so freaking long to do, but it was 100% worth it. And you'll see me realize, oh, I gotta get rid of the resin in the front real quickly after I turn off the HUD. Damn, that was when I saw it. But I hope you have enjoyed, and maybe I'll make more of these in future Pioneer challenges. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.